What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode here of the BlockHash Podcast, your number one resource for all that is happening across the emerging tech space. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. Today, I'm joined by another wonderful guest, Sam. He's the head of product and of institutional business development at BitMEX. Sam, welcome to the podcast today. How you doing?
Hey, Brandon. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me today.
Pleasure's all mine. I appreciate you taking the time to be on. I know you're a very, very busy man, bouncing around, doing a lot of different things, but excited to have a conversation with you today about BitMEX. Before we do, would love to learn a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind sharing a bit about maybe your backstory, what kind of led you into or excited you about the Web3 space and want to be a part of it.
I came to crypto, I guess, almost by accident. I worked in traditional finance for 17 years, a bank called Standard Chartered for most of it, across various parts of the world. And I always worked in derivatives. BitMEX came to me about 6.5 years ago, and BitMEX is a derivatives-focused exchange, and they needed some help to grow out their product, to work on their margining systems, basically financial engineering. And that was very close to what I've been doing for the previous 17 years at Standard Chartered. What excited me about BitMEX to start with was there were a bunch of people, probably all younger than me, so I'm already a gray hair when I come into the crypto space, but they spoke the same language technically about this brand new thing called Bitcoin, which I'd heard about just passingly, usually from my office assistant back in London, who would come back on a weekend and say, "Oh, I've just made another 20 quid from Bitcoin going up." And we thought it was like a scam. We didn't really know what was going on. But I dug a bit deeper, and speaking to the guys who were at BitMEX, I realized that they were smart and they were actually making things happen. It was a lean organization. BitMEX still is a lean organization. So getting things done fast was actually possible versus in a large banking organization. Even when you have a great new idea, it probably takes 2 or 3 years to actually make it happen. We were doing things in 2 or 3 months. So I took the plunge 6.5 years ago to come into crypto, moved across to Hong Kong to start with, where I'd been previously in my career. But that was where BitMEX was based at the time. Started working on the financial product side of the business. We added a whole bunch of new products in the first couple of years, expanding the swaps business in particular. And haven't really looked back. It was supposed to be a 1-year toe in the water, see if it works kind of thing. And here I am 6.5 years later, a little bit battle bruised, a little bit grayer, but probably wouldn't hesitate about doing the same thing again, because it's been a really interesting, slightly bumpy, but interesting ride.
Yeah, this space will age you pretty fast. A year can feel like a decade. But no, that's awesome, man. And what about BitMEX do you like the most, or what do you think makes it really stand out? As an exchange, I know it's one of the safest crypto exchanges too, right?
Exactly. So I think what attracted me to BitMEX to start with was a philosophy about doing things better than the traditional finance system. I think that's still the case, but there's a lot of people in crypto now doing things like that. So what makes BitMEX stand out from that crowd? As you mentioned, safety is a huge part of what we do. We've started to become far from being the difficult outlying exchange. Now we're the slightly boring one. We're very safe in terms of our custody. We've never lost a single Satoshi of client money, which we pride ourselves on. We have very strong and strict operational processes around how we handle client funds. I think that's a really important starting point, and that's what we base everything on. So our wallets are our MPC cold wallets. We hold 37,000 Bitcoin of insurance fund money to back up customer profits as well. So when you trade with us, you're going to get paid out when you're successful. We also offer extremely high leverage in a mathematically safe way. So we pioneered high leverage in crypto derivatives. We use the same systems today, which allow us to exit positions when markets move against clients. So sometimes you put on a position, you put on high leverage, you're not always going to win. Sometimes you're going to lose. When you lose, we have to take over that position. So we're taking over a losing position. We have to get out of that safely in the market. And our insurance fund, coupled with our matching engine and the tech that's involved in that, helps us do that quickly, efficiently, without overly disrupting the market. So 250x leverage at a maximum on Bitcoin contracts. is not the biggest in the market anymore, the highest leverage in the market anymore, but we think it's about as high as it should go safely. And for those of our clients that really want it, that works for them, and we're happy to support that. Next up, we're also transparent. Some of our competitors will trade against their customers. Some of our competitors will take fees when their customers are liquidated. We don't do that. We really want to be a transparent exchange where serious traders can meet and trade against each other. We facilitate that trading. We don't engage in that trading to take profit of the losing sides. What we do is we work with market makers to help provide liquidity to those markets. We realize that that's very important. It's something we've spent a lot of time on the last 6 months, and we expect that to grow over the next 6 months as well. We think our Bitcoin liquidity in our perps is now good, but we've still got a lot of way to go for some of our other contracts. And so hopefully we'll see those pick up over the next 6 months. And that's one of the biggest things I'm working on at the moment. We've also got a great API. If you look at the BitMEX API, it's remarkably similar to a lot of the others that you'll see on the street. The reason for that is we were probably the first platform in crypto to get it right. And imitation is probably the best form of flattery. That API works. It's really solid. And we've spent a little bit of time over the last year or two making it even more robust. And there's more to come on that. And maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then finally, in terms of margining. So BitMEX offers isolated margin for its two sets of contracts, either in Bitcoin or in Tether. But it also offers multi-asset margin. This means you can bring what we'll deem sensible coins to the platform and get trading with them immediately. You don't need to convert them to anything else. And what we support right now is Bitcoin and Tether, plus USDC, Ripple dollars, Solana, XRP. So it's a good range of solid crypto collateral that allows our users to get started straight away and allows them to hold the underlying that they really want to have. If you're a Bitcoin maxi, hold your Bitcoin while you're trading, make more money in Bitcoin. If you're not, if you're into your Solana, by all means, bring your Solana to BitMEX and come and trade with it. So we hope we cater to quite a wide crowd. Bitcoin still being the focus of the market as a whole, but especially for BitMEX, the bit in our name gives it away. We're home for Bitcoin maxis, but we're friendly to everyone.
That's awesome, man. Especially the aspects of safety and transparency. I think that's really good to really dial in on, especially with everything that's happened the last 3 years or so with other players in the space. But no, that's fantastic. One big thing I want to talk about today is a recent report that you guys put out regarding the funding rate analysis. Would love to dive into that a little bit more. Maybe you can tell us about some of the key takeaways from this report, maybe how that relates to traders, maybe if there's any market dynamics, shifts in market dynamics in particular, maybe that you guys have realized from that report as well. Like, what are some things that we can kind of highlight from that?
So, I mean, first up, big shout out to the team at BitMEX. The research team was a team of one for a long time, and now we've increased it and upsized the team a little bit, and we think this piece is a really good read. So I think we'll probably put the link in the show notes as well. Please read. But I will try and do their research justice. What we looked at is the BitMEX funding rate since perps were launched in May 2016. We'll take a step back first. What is the funding rate for? What does funding rate do? And I'm sure some of your listeners will know, and some of them will be new. So, very quick explainer. Where we have perpetual swaps, they need to be tied back to some sort of real market. Any derivative needs to have a base to hold it to. What the funding rate does is it pulls the price of the swap back towards the underlying spot rate if that's necessary. So it incentivizes people to take a position that brings the perp price closer to the spot price. In BitMEX, what we do is we actually have a natural bias. So when the perp was first launched, everyone in crypto wanted to be long Bitcoin. A lot of people still do want to be long Bitcoin. So we incentivized users to go short by paying them some funding if they were holding a short position. So if nothing else changed, if the perp price and the spot price were roughly aligned, then those who were short perp, short Bitcoin price, would actually receive funding. So they were paid to hold a position that other people didn't want to do. And that continues to be the case. It continues to be, if you are short, you are likely to receive funding. So we looked at what this funding rate did over 9 years, and how if you invested in this, earn my funding and be flat otherwise. So I buy Bitcoin and then I short the perp, and I earn funding. If the funding is in my favor, what does my returns look like? And we found that my annualized return over that period, so since May 2016, so not annualized, total return would have been 873%. Okay, so massive return. Some of that is for the price of Bitcoin going up, but in general, 3 out of 4 funding periods were profitable. There was never any major drawdown. So this funding arbitrage trade is really super profitable. But it's changed over time in terms of how that profitability looked. In the early days, these funding rates used to swing around an enormous amount. 2 reasons why they don't quite as much, other than market dynamics. We increase the leverage, which means we reduce the maximum funding rate per period, and that period is every 8 hours. And at the same time, there's just more people in the market, so there's more people pushing these prices back to where they need to be. How has that gradually progressed? We now have, over the last 2 years, 90% fewer extreme funding rates than we had back in 2016, 2017. And this is a function of 2 things. It's a function of far more people in the market, particularly the spot market. And we see that particularly with the ETFs coming in last year. There's a lot of spot activity, and we'll talk a bit later about what ETFs have actually done to the market. There's some other interesting dynamics that have come from ETFs coming in, which makes my life a little bit harder, I think, because things just move around a little bit less. So ETFs have squashed volatility to a certain extent. They've made spot price movements a little bit more predictable in terms of their timing. And then various protocols, and Athena is probably the obvious one here, have started to look at this funding rate arbitrage and to package it up. And that just means that it's being used by more people all the time as well. So when Athena first started, and Athena is not really a Bitcoin play to start with, it's an Ethereum play, but people were the protocol was shorting ETH where there was a funding opportunity, either a futures basis or a perps basis to take advantage of. It's got over 4 billion TVL now, so that size has just squeezed all the life out of this basis trade, particularly in ETH. So the crowded space means that there's a whole lot less to do. But that said, although the space is crowded, the sizes going through are also much bigger. So there is still a decent amount to be made, not the same absolute returns, but those who can trade this in size can still have a really profitable time. We see new funds come into the space all the time. Some get it right very quickly. Some are crowded out by those who know what they're doing better. But we think this is a trade that will live on forever. But it's really, it's what links our spot markets, our perp markets together. That elastic has to be there, otherwise they don't function. And as long as that elastic exists, then there are trades to be done. The other interesting thing that we probably see more of these days as well is arbitraging funding across different platforms. So different platforms calculate their funding sometimes in slightly different ways. A lot of the playbook is still from the original BitMEX perp, and we do have platforms that look very, very similar in terms of funding. But even when the mechanisms are the same, they are driven by the order books on different exchanges. So even with those differences in order books, the funding can look different. So we have plenty of larger customers, either smart retail customers or institutional customers, who play this arbitrage across exchanges as well. And depending on how they're set up, they have more and more efficient ways of doing that. The introduction of prime brokers, for example, who allow their customers to move their funds between exchanges very quickly, really helps them put those trades on its size.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I was, wondering about this over market saturation for quite a while now, with the proliferation of all these different DeFi protocols that are out there, and also with ETFs really taking a main stage the last year and a half or so. I was kind of wondering if that was going to have an impact on the market in terms of squashing the volatility to some degree, or those arbitrage opportunities like you talk about. Do you think that it will end up kind of like at some point oversaturating to the point where it would squeeze out a lot of the retail traders, but maybe it leaves the opportunity open for a lot of institutional traders or investors just because of the size of what the order book would need to be and to take advantage? Or how do you imagine that eventually going?
I think we keep space for retail traders, and this is the unique way that the crypto market is set up. When you trade on a crypto exchange, you are trading in the same books as all the institutions. If you look at traditional finance, you have a broker intermediating for you. You have a broker whose job it is to give you best execution, and they're monitored on that, but you're not trading yourself. You're not trading directly yourself. Crypto markets work because we have this diverse set of market players. There are certain trades where the most technologically advanced traders will just get there first. That's always been the case. That doesn't mean there's not room for retail traders. We can say retail traders. Some of our biggest traders are retail traders, and they click and trade on their screen, or actually some of them trade on their mobile app, and they can do tens of millions of volume per day, getting through in some cases to hundreds of millions of dollars per day in volumes. So I think it stays. I think the market dynamics are that anyone can get into the order book. You just have to have your view. And although an exchange is a closed system, for every winner there will be a loser, the way people evaluate on their time frame, a lot of our institutional traders are very high frequency traders. They want to make a fraction of a basis point over a fraction of a second. But some of our click traders will be making percent returns, absolute percent returns over a 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week kind of time frame. So I think there's continues to be space for the retail traders, but you're absolutely right in terms of volatility being squashed down. Bitcoin used to trade off a 100+% realized volatility, annualized realized volatility kind of handle. That's come down substantially. Some days it's getting as low as 20%, which really puts it in the same kind of bracket as precious metals or emerging market currencies versus this whole different asset class it was 2 years ago. As an exchange, that's obviously difficult for us because our business flourishes when things move around. So the more it moves around, the more volume, the more fees, the better our business. So that's a struggle for us. We do think that volatility as an asset class within crypto is continuing to grow. When the volatilities were at 100+%, it was very hard to justify going into that unless you really knew what you were doing. We think that gradually, since that vol comes down, it'll be something that people look at more seriously. It will move less. It will be harder to trade and make outsized returns on in terms of volatility. But we're actually looking to launch a futures contract on implied volatility probably next month. We're just putting the final touches to that. To give some people, well, not some people, the BitMEX crowd of traders who will trade anything, let's say, something more to trade on. I think the ability to short volatility as a semi-hedge to your trading that profits when volatility goes up might be an interesting hedge for some. For others, it's another number on the screen that they can see going up and down, tied to something real. And we think that provides an exciting opportunity. We'd love our traders to get more interested in options. We've tried that somewhat last year with not so much success. So this is kind of another attempt to see where we can get that volatility trading into our traders toolkit, starting with Bitcoin, and we may follow that up with ETH and XRP later in the year.
Interesting. What do you think holds back some of that investor interest in things like options? Is it just a lack of education? Is it a degree of fear of the risk that it may hold because they don't understand it or trade it very often? Or what may be kind of like holding that back?
So I think there's a lack of understanding to a certain extent. People like to do things they already know, and when you start having expiry dates and strikes on top of everything else that you need to trade a linear derivative, it starts to get a bit more complicated. I don't think it's a risk thing, though. I think we've seen over our 10 plus years at BitMEX that there are plenty of traders who have enormous risk appetite. In fact, it might be the opposite. So where you're trading on BitMEX and you can get 250x leverage, the leverage you can get yourself by buying an option is often actually lower. So in traditional finance, options are used for leverage to take views of extreme market moves or protection if things move against you without a downside the other way around. That gives you an implicit leverage because you pay a premium and you get a return based on where the price ends up. That leverage is rarely as high as 250x because it's just expensive for people to sell options. They have to hedge themselves in a relatively illiquid options market. That becomes quite expensive. So for a long time, that high volatility meant 250x leverage was way better than buying an option. As the market overall volatility comes down, we'll see that options start to become a little bit easier to manage. And so the value in those options will increase as well. So we'd love to be there and open the magic door that makes options easier for retail. I know there are various other players in the market that have done this in other asset classes who are moving into crypto. We'll see how they do it to a certain extent as well. But we'll try and find our BitMEX way of making it work.
Okay, interesting. As head of product, I'm curious if you guys plan to reveal any type of new tradable products this year, any tools kind of around that. What might be coming up that you can divulge?
So coming very soon, and we have this now in production testing, and we use our staff to test in production a lot of the time because that's the best environment to make sure our tools are ready to go before they go out to our users. We have copy trading. So copy trading has been around in the market for a long time. We probably first looked at it in 2021, but we're working with a very strong partner of ours to get this into the BitMEX system. And what copy trading really allows us to do is bring sophisticated trading strategies to our normal users. So the way this works is our experienced traders can put themselves forward to be a copy trading leader. We will reach out to a number of our most successful traders to offer them the opportunity, but they can also contact us and say, we want to be a copy trading leader. What that means is we will publish your trading history in terms of profitability over the last 180 days. So users can see how well you've traded, and then they can elect to follow you. If they follow you, then they will put their own collateral into their own accounts. And every time you do a trade, they will do a trade that is sized according to the leader's amount of funds versus their amount of funds. So far, so good. But what's in it for the copy leader? And this is where we think we're going to have an edge over other exchanges on the street. We offer a profit share, as do many exchanges, but that profit share will be up to 50%, and it will be configurable by the copy leader. So if you think your strategy is the best and you think your 50% profit share is still going to keep your followers highly profitable, you can opt to do 50%. If you feel that your strategy is going to be fairly profitable, but you want to get more people through the door, you can reduce your profit share down to a minimum of 10%. You can also set minimum investment sizes for your followers so that you really have control over what they're doing. You can connect to your socials so they can see not just your trading history on BitMEX, they can follow you on, your copiers can follow you on Twitch, they can follow you on Instagram, they can follow you on Twitter, they can follow you on LinkedIn. It's really an enhancement of the community trading aspect of BitMEX, and that's always been really popular. The old school OGs on BitMEX will know of the troll box, which is a chat box within the trading terminal. Many discussions have gone in there. Many people are active there all the time, but not all of our traders can be logged in, plugged in, just trading 24 hours a day. Most people find 24 hours a day difficult, but let's say 16 hours plus a day. What copy trading allows us to do is to give those users the 24-hour trading provided by someone else. We think it will be a huge success because we think we're doing a good job of filtering out the copy leaders to start with. So not everyone can always be profitable, and there will be down days for some of the leaders and their followers. But as a whole, we think we've got a good set of traders there already. So the ability to passively earn by following these leaders is extremely exciting for us. And I'm already looking forward to putting some of my own funds behind some of these copies.
Yeah, it seems like something, at least that I've noticed, is also really popular in the market right now and across different players is copy trading. Do you guys like vet them in particular, or do you just kind of allow anyone to come in and bring their strategies and then they just develop their reputation through BitMEX, or can they bring it from another exchange or wallet or import transaction history? Or is there a way to like to bring reputation, build reputation, like to, I don't know, go up the leaderboard essentially?
So the leaderboard will be there and there for existing BitMEX traders to start with. We will allow bespoke, so in conjunction with our retail sales team, we will vet external traders coming in, and we may be able to show their history on other platforms. That's probably a version 2 rather than the initial launch product. But we will be able to post links so that the traders themselves can advertise their performance elsewhere. And then it gets to a caveat emptor, do your own research kind of point of view that once you go to someone's socials, although we'd love to be able to guarantee they're always 100% accurate, there may be copy leaders that have trades that if they're on another platform, we can't 100% vet them. And at that point, it becomes up to the followers to do their research. But we will be very transparent where we are showing trades that are from BitMEX that we can fully back up, and trades that come from other platforms that are different. But ultimately, if we're not sure, we won't allow them on the platform to do the leading until they have that BitMEX history. That's the kind of safety catch that we have.
Nice, man. That sounds very exciting. I'll definitely have to check that out as well once it's fully up and operational. That sounds like a very exciting thing to follow some of these traders and kind of see what they're doing and learn their strategies. And everyone's got such an interesting take on how to approach the market too. I imagine that'll drive a lot of interest for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a diversity of strategies as well that's really important. So you'll be able to follow multiple leaders at once, so you can create your own portfolio of trades as well.
Another thing I want to ask you is in relation to current market trends. Obviously, Bitcoin has gotten over 120K and still pushing. Altcoin season, alt season seems like it's actually going to happen. There's a lot of interest brewing in the market. Things are picking up. We have positive regulation that seems that it's probably going to go through very quickly in the US. Like there's a lot of things all kind of going the right direction at the moment, given how bad it's been the last couple of years, and having to kind of dredge through that a little bit. I'm curious if you guys have maybe noticed any like key trends in the market in relation to crypto lately, indications, maybe where the market might be heading from here, that might also kind of give some traders like an idea of at least what to prepare for, what to kind of keep in mind as we go into the second half of 2025.
I think so. So first thing, a little bit before that, I mentioned when we talked about ETFs that they've made a significant approach to the market. One of the more noticeable things they've done is they've squashed down a lot of trading over weekends. So historically, all the action used to be fairly evenly spread out Monday through Sunday. We've noticed that Saturday and Sunday are now far quieter as days, and we think that continues. So where there is big news over weekends, we'll now see those moves coming through, but the actual volume that comes through is a little bit lower. So watch out for that. The markets tend to be a little bit thinner over the weekend in terms of volume traded. The liquidity is still reasonably there, but the big volumes still seem to come through on a Monday to Friday rather than Saturday to Sunday. But following on from that, you're right. There's tailwinds everywhere, which point towards everything going up. And we saw things go up this week through 120K, but then a pullback very quickly to 118, 117. I think, and I'm disagreeing with one of my founders here who keeps talking 250K as an end of year price. I think we don't go that fast. I think the tailwinds are favorable, but I think, as we talked about the volatility coming down, I think Bitcoin is more something that chugs north gradually now rather than really explodes, at least for this year. So I see 150K-ish as a sort of sensible end of year price. We might flirt with a little bit higher and draw back, but I would be very surprised to see us in the 175K plus by the end of year. I feel that's more of a 2026 thing and beyond. Maybe all lines up with the World Cup of the US and excitement around that. Who knows? Like anything can drive things. But while Bitcoin keeps chugging, alts will need to catch up, and I think ETH has done a bit of it's catching up already. Expect them to trend higher. Expect Bitcoin to do more of the movement intraday. But alts following ETH, again, just chug a little bit higher. Action, if you really want a day trade or week trade, will continue to be around meme coins, I think, for the next 2 or 3 months. There's more coming out. Talking to our market makers, talking to our customers, we hear about things coming through. We'll try and list some of these things where we think it's safe to do so with the right amount of leverage. Pump.fun token came out this week, but we've also got customers asking for older coins. Stellar was something that we listed again this week as a perp, which we had on the platform for 3 or 4 months. There will be these pockets of opportunity that some people will catch, some people will miss. That's the nature of the lower cap crypto underliers, that you're going to get a big move and then nothing. I can't tell you which ones will be. Unfortunately, if I had that crystal ball, then I'd probably be sitting on my Caribbean island somewhere, and I'd be doing that from the Caribbean.
As will we all, yeah.
but I think we see more activity in that space. So Bitcoin 150k-ish by end of year. ETH maybe touching 4k if that kind of that multiplier sort of works, and then looking out for some interesting new listings as well from a few layer ones are coming out, as well as the meme coins. I think the safe money, I guess, will be to find the strong layer ones or interesting layer twos that actually have a use case. They're not gonna double your money this year, but they may be things to add to your bag.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things going on right now, and it's definitely an exciting point in time. So hopefully things can continue trending in the right way, and I guess we'll find out. So what is on the horizon here for BitMEX? Any important updates or launches? And we talked about products a little bit earlier, but anything outside of that maybe you guys want to mention? Are you guys going to be at any events or conferences? I know you've been bouncing around to quite a few things as well. What should people be aware of?
So on the infrastructure side, we've got a few important things coming. We've been working very hard over the last 4 months to get ready to move our stack across from Dublin, where it's been since 2016, to Tokyo. Now, why are we doing that? And this is kind of the important bit. We found that the physical distance between BitMEX and other crypto exchanges, which used to be a benefit for traders when BitMEX was the source of price truth, has become a disadvantage. It's made the markets a little bit unfair. Those handful of traders, and we have 3 very big institutional traders who do this very well, who have the technical resources to do so, can get their information faster from Tokyo or Asia in general across to Dublin, which gives them a trading advantage. We're trying to flatten that playing field a little bit. For those 3 traders, they're not the happiest traders in the world, because they've had this advantage that they can use over the last 10 years, and they've probably perfected that over the last 3 or 4, so that they've had a dominant position. But all 3 of them are in agreement that the overall impact on the BitMEX market will be positive for them as well. So what does that impact look like for our regular retail traders? It means that it's much easier for market makers to provide liquidity to us, to the BitMEX markets. So we see and expect a positive uptick in liquidity across all contracts, but probably initially across the bigger top 3, 4, 5 contracts, which makes it a better place to trade. It means people will execute at better prices, means they can execute more often, faster. We're really, really excited for the impact it's going to have. It's been a lot of hard work internally from the tech team to start with, and now the baton has been passed a little bit to my teams to make sure our existing customers are ready for the move. And it will be relatively simple from that side. We expect the exchange to be down for 2 or 3 hours on a Saturday. We've done downtime before. It's a fairly normal thing for exchange maintenance. So front of house, everything should look super slick, super clean. Back of house, the day we do it, I'm sure blood pressures will be a little bit high, and everyone will need a little bit of a good rest before and afterwards. But we think that it's really going to be a really positive move. It also brings in more traders who've found that working out into Dublin was going to be just too much of an ask for their infrastructure, because they have bases around Asia. They can make it work. So that we're really, really excited about. The second infrastructure piece, which is more focused on our institutional clients, is we're going to start taking off-exchange custody for the first time. The first partner we're going to work with is Zodia Custody. We're just working through the technical parts now, and we expect to be live just before, and it will be really just before Token 2049 in Singapore, and hopefully be there to celebrate with the Zodia Custody team as well on going live. We see third-party custody as an important part of institutional trading in the crypto space. We still think that BitMEX does custody better than anyone else. We've never lost a single Satoshi, but we understand that from a different point of view, the need to have a separate custodian because that's the worldview that a lot of traditional traders have, and their risk teams in particular find that really important. So that comes out probably late September. We will follow up with other custodians. We're having chats with a few, and more news on that probably towards the end of Q3 or early Q4. One other thing on the product side, which we're working on, we're waiting to decide how and when it goes through, and we're looking at the details. We've seen lots of exchanges over the last week or two start to launch stock-linked products, perps on X stocks, Kraken launching X stock spot trading, and so on. We've looked at similar products since about 2020, 2021. So we've got a good backlog of how we might do this if we want to do this. We're still in the do we want to do this? Is it right for our customers right now kind of phase? But if it is, we'll move quite quickly and expect to see something again in the next six to 8 weeks if we pull the trigger on that. So that might come soon. And then you mentioned conferences. So I was lucky enough to go to Istanbul Blockchain Week 3 weeks ago. Istanbul, really a big crypto city. It's not quite BitMEX derivatives territory at the moment, but it was interesting to see what's going down. Lots of projects, lots of KOLs, big spot activity. The volatility of the Turkish lira means that lots of people take their local currency and move it straight into stablecoins. Really, really vibrant and buzzy for what they were doing. And then I went on to ETCC in Cannes, which was full of developers, full of VCs, full of energy. Unfortunately, not full of departing flights because the French air traffic controllers decided to go on strike the 2 days that the conference finished. So a few people got a little bit of an extended holiday in the south of France. Not too many people complaining about that. But we'll move the conferences on to the kind of the next part of the conference season. We'll also be in Dubai for Blockchain Live, particularly for our Russian-speaking traders. For our Mandarin-speaking traders, we'll be at Taipei Blockchain Week, which we go to, I think, into the last 3 years. I'm hoping I get to go this year. I actually haven't been myself, but I'm actually half of my family is Taiwanese, so I'm off to Taiwan tomorrow. So hopefully I get there for Taipei Blockchain Week. CoinFest, we're going to for the first time in Bali. We think it'll be an exciting one and plenty of interesting conversations there. We'll have representation at WebEx in Tokyo. And then our CEO, Stefan, will be speaking a little bit later in the year at the European Blockchain Convention in Barcelona. So lots of conferences. Do hit us up if you're coming to town. We'd love to meet existing customers, prospective partners. And we find that we have probably the most interesting conversations around those conferences. And part of the challenge is then actually getting all of those things into execution mode once those finish in this little period I've got between now and kind of the end of August when the conference season kicks off again. So we'd love to see people there. We'll be out in force. Do come and say hi if you don't get invited directly. And you'll be able to see again on the show notes how to contact me directly if you're interested in meeting up.
Exciting. Definitely keep me updated on all these different events and conferences that you guys are attending. Would love to meet up with you guys at some point. Maybe we can do an episode in person too. It's always a lot of fun to kick back and do an episode in IRL these days since everything's so virtual.
I'll get you to Asia. I think get you across to Brandon and we'll make that happen.
Absolutely. And best of luck with the move too as well from Dublin to Tokyo and hopefully that goes very smoothly for you guys. I'm sure it will. Where can people keep up with all this stuff, all these different updates, whether it's a product, a tool, the move, or anything similar? Should they just go to the website? Do you have a blog? Social's best place? Where would you send people?
So all of the above. I mean, to sign up, it's www.bitmex.com. We have a BitMEX blog that's accessible from there as well, where we have all of our updates plus the thought pieces that we mentioned, like the funding research piece that we had. We're on X at BitMEX. We're on Telegram. We're on Discord, LinkedIn as well. And happy for people to reach out to me directly on either Telegram, Twitter, or LinkedIn. On Telegram and Twitter, I am at BitMEX_SandySam. That's probably, I mean, other venues are available, and directly with our sales team as well. If you've got a relationship manager already, if not, reach out to me. I can help you.
Awesome, Sam. Appreciate the time. This has been great. Enjoyed the conversation. Keep up all the great work, and yeah, hopefully we can, meet up at some point. Sounds like I'll definitely need to come out to some of these locations, maybe over to Asia, wherever you guys are, and maybe we can do something. But take care, and let's talk again soon.
Cool. Thanks, Brandon.